This message comes from IXL. Spring is here and school testing is just around the corner. IXL can help. Make an impact on your child's learning. Receive 20% off an IXL membership if you sign up today at IXL.com/NPR.
Brittany, I'm a complainer. And I know you're a complainer. So this is a safe space to complain. And I want to know, what is your least favorite part of living in a city?
Oh, my God. Well, I'll say for one, summer is here and not enough people are wearing deodorant in my neighborhood. So that's a big one.
It's, for sure a problem in Bushwick. But it's people making personal decisions that impact others around them, right? And in a city, the radius of that impact is usually really close to somebody else.
Yes. Like the path from butterfly flapping their wings to tsunami is shorter for people who live in cities, right?
Totally.
For listeners who haven't met her yet, this is Manuela Lopez Restrepo, a writer and producer at All Things Considered and friend of the show. Okay, I got to complain. So, Manuela, it's your turn now. What really gets your goat?
Listen, there's plenty I can gripe about living in a dense place like New York where not everybody loves thy neighbor. But this past winter, I hit a critical mass with some critical mass, let's say.
Okay, what do you mean by that?
Brittany, we're talking dog turds.
Yes.
So, unidentified poop is kind of a staple of living in the world, I would say. But there was a stretch of time earlier this year where there was just ice and snow all over every paved surface, unmelted, for like a month. And it just accumulated the stuff, and it put it on display in a way that you could not look away from.
Oh my God. I also live in New York. I was there. I saw it. I was like playing hopscotch every day with pet excrement. And I saw people just let their pets go and leave it. It was disgusting stuff.
First, I don't understand what about the snow made people feel like it was a get out of jail free card.
I don't know.
You know, aside from wondering why, I also wondered, how did we get here? Because I've heard from people who live in plenty other cities, and it's not just an issue where we live. And it's not just about the poop either. It's about the dogs and all of the places they seem to appear now. And the poop issue is about the owners too. But I think what lies underneath everything is this tension over how we share public space with each other, what we owe to one another, and what our community leaders owe us too.
Manuela, I am riveted. I'm seated. And I am frankly disgusted. But let's get into it. Hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident.
So, this thing about dog poop, I can't say that it's getting worse everywhere. It really depends on where you live. But wherever you live, just seeing it day in and day out on the street can be demoralizing. And from what I've heard, a lot of dog owners are fed up too.
I have 2 dogs, one of which is in my office right now.
That's Kate Wagner, architecture critic at The Nation and essayist.
Oh, yeah. Very, very familiar with Kate. She's been on the show a few times.
I talked to her because she's very smart on all things urbanism, civic life, how we live in space, all that good stuff.
Dogs very popular in my neighborhood, Logan Square in Chicago, which is a highly gentrified neighborhood. And anyways, like every time I take my dogs out, there's poop everywhere. And it's crazy because like the houses in my neighborhood are worth like $1 million. And yet there's still people just let their dogs crap on the green space beside the sidewalk. And it's like, what are we doing here? You know?
This is what bugs me out the most. Like, you have enough money ostensibly for dog insurance. You have to be able to get it together to pick up behind them.
Don't get me started, because I could keep going. But Kate had a lot to say about the deeper messages being communicated through the crap.
That to me is like a show of total entitlement and like disrespect for your neighbors. It's basically saying like, yeah, this is my playground. My dog can wherever they want. Like, it might as well just be my backyard. And I think that that's a fundamentally antisocial behavior.
100% agree. The world is not your toilet. No one is going to flush it for you.
Well, that makes me think about this theory she had about a larger phenomenon happening in all types of urban environments.
I think this is a bigger problem with regards to how we live in urban spaces writ large, which is that, like, there is a kind of suburbanization to the urban realm that I find really annoying. The urban core becoming itself an amenity for wealthy people. It's essentially a playground for wealthy people to pal around. And yeah, if you see your neighborhood as an amenity rather than like as a place in which like many people live and have to live coexisting lives, including people who are very different from you, make different amounts of money, people who look differently than you, then like that is a political perspective that is, you know, projected onto the world. And the dog is just a lens at looking at it.
Oh, that is such a deep point. Like thinking of your neighborhood as an amenity. I mean, I could see that being an easy attitude to adopt, like being in an expensive urban center where everything kind of feels like it's there for you or your dog's use. It's like so brilliant that Kate connected that antisocial behavior of leaving your dog poop to this idea.
Yeah, and it's not just the poop. Brittany, what's the weirdest place you've ever seen a dog where there maybe shouldn't have been one?
Well, my number one place is the grocery store, but also recently I saw someone walking their dog into Walter's in Fort Greene, Brooklyn. It's a restaurant. And this is not a big restaurant. Like, there's not enough room really for people to move around like that. Mm-hmm. And the dog was an old English sheepdog. Like, this is a dog that weighs as much as a middle schooler. Like, okay, the dog is bigger than a lot of people's kids. I'm going to admit now, the most antisocial thing that I've ever done. I looked at the dog and I said to the owner, that's disgusting. The dog is neutral, but you choosing to bring that dog into the restaurant, it's disgusting.
You saying something and then like a tuft of hair just floats into your appetizer.
My God, I couldn't even deal with that. Like, I don't know. I just feel like if the dog is tall enough to eat off my plate, it should not be there.
And let us clarify, service dogs, always fine, always good. I see their vests asking me not to pet them, and I respect those instructions.
I also understand, you know, that there's like extenuating circumstances that might mean like dogs have to be with you in public. Also, there are like tons of public places where dogs are like totally welcome. And I think in some cases even contribute to the vibe.
Totally. I love dogs, but there are some places where having a pet is kind of a health hazard. I'm thinking specifically of restaurants and grocery stores. Ooh. Service animals don't typically pee next to the radishes, but some people's pets do.
Yes.
And the biggest thing about this for me is that I don't feel like this is something that I have had to worry or think about in previous years, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, people used to leave their dogs at home.
That's crazy, and you sound crazy. But in all seriousness, I think it is new. Anjali Rao, a journalist and critic who covers built environments, told me she thinks this is a product of the pandemic, and she's also a dog owner.
I think that there's something really unusual that happened during the COVID lockdown that continues to keep biting me. Literal dogs. I think some of this frustration, it comes from one part, which is that during lockdown, we were in our houses. And I speak from personal experience that you develop a very different type of attachment to your dog when you are in your house for a year. And there might be actually some separation anxiety happening, not just on the part of our fuzzy friends, but also on the part of our humans too.
Jeez, oh, Pete, I'm so glad she brought this up because it feels like it's a crystallization of how some people treat their feelings as like more important than simple decorum. And like, you know, we all have our moments. And I'll say in big cities, there tends to be a certain level of like tolerance people have for behaviors that might seem unusual. Like we have a grace for each other that I find very beautiful. But allowing feelings of being away from your pet to overcome that basic decorum is just like bonkers to me.
And I've seen, so I know you've seen, discourse about whether dogs can be wherever people go. And some people who believe dogs are fine anywhere say things like, well, my dog is better behaved than your child. And that's a whole thing too.
They treat the dog with the same kind of perspective as they would treat a child, where it's like, yeah, children are children. They need to be socialized. They're in public places. Like, they become adults. They're human beings. A dog is a dog. And so it's like, to me, it's a kind of funny situation in which like there's like almost like a dog's rights movement of people who are like, yeah, I should be able to take my dog everywhere. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's not the social contract that we live in. Like, you know, people are afraid of dogs. I feel like this is something that we don't talk about that much, but it is actually really important. Like if a dog is behaving badly on the leash, it's like pretty threatening. Whether you're like, oh, my dog is friendly, oh, my dog can be let off the leash. And it's like, no, actually, you're encroaching on what is a public space that you see fit to use to private ends.
Okay, even insinuating dogs and kids are the same is kind of insulting to both parties, in my opinion, but she's right. Like there's a level of danger there that may not exist with someone's toddler, not to mention the fact that some people have severe allergies to dogs.
Yeah, and as a pet owner myself, I can understand the transference. I refer to my cat Martin as my son. However, I know deep down that's not my child. And I think sometimes people might take it a little bit further than that.
I think that for a lot of people, like a dog does become like a kind of substitute child because it's so unaffordable to have a child and it's like slightly more affordable to have a dog. I also think that, you know, in my neighborhood, a dog is definitely a sort of status symbol. Maybe not my dogs, but like if you have like 2 Labradoodles, you might as well be wearing like a Montclair jacket as far as I'm concerned. The more you see a kind of designer dog walking around in your neighborhood, the more you know it's kind of over for your rent.
Okay, I'm glad that Kate is getting into the class of it all here, but there's like another dimension here that we haven't gotten into quite yet. Like I feel like there's a racial skew to pet ownership. Like, is there a dimension of that in there?
Well, yes. Like, according to Pew, more than 2/3, 68% of white people are pet owners.
What?
It's a similar number for Latinos, but closer to 1/3 of Black people and Asian people are pet owners. And for the record, dogs are the most popular pet by far.
Okay, I had like an inkling, but that is blowing my mind. Also, I don't know. I would have thought cats are more popular, actually. Like, you don't have to walk them. They bathe themselves.
Dogs have better PR, in my opinion. But yeah, I talked to Sara Mayorga, a professor and chair of sociology at Brandeis University. She authored an article in a peer-reviewed journal about one community she studied in North Carolina and how dogs played into its racial dynamics.
So I was studying a multiracial mixed income neighborhood in Durham, which I call Creek Ridge Park. And in Creek Ridge Park, I was really trying to understand social relationships, power dynamics in this multiracial space. And one of the things that kind of kept coming up for residents was about dogs as connectors, or the role that dog walking played in how they moved around the neighborhood and connected with one another. When I really dug into the data, the story was a little bit more nuanced, right? And what actually ended up coming to light in my analysis was that dogs are really connectors for white residents. In terms of what dogs did for interracial dynamics, they actually were the source of negotiating boundaries and maintaining that social distance between Black and white, or white and Latinx residents.
Oh, that's interesting. What did she find?
What I actually find is that white residents often use dogs to surveil their neighbors of color.
Surveil them how? Like on walks?
Yeah, and more than that, too.
So there was one instance I talk about in the article around a woman who I call Tammy, and basically how she took it upon herself not just to observe the behavior of her neighbors, but eventually ended up taking the dog that she was observing from her Latinx neighbors, right? And really what her concern was about the size of the dog's home in the backyard. So it was this presumption that she knew better, that she knew best.
I'm sorry. That is so wild. It like reminds me of people who try to take dogs away from homeless people. Like they're worried about the welfare of the dog, but not the welfare of the human being who often is their neighbor.
Completely. It's like that one clip from the TV show Community where one character says,
I can excuse racism, but I draw the line at animal cruelty.
You can excuse racism.
There's a reason why that clip has lived on as long as it has. It just feels too true in some ways.
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting to me about this work that I've done on dogs is that if we zoom out a little bit, it's not actually about the dogs at all, right? It's about racism, it's about classism, it's about boundaries, it's about power, right? And it's about how do we share space with people who might have different expectations and different values than we have. And one of the things that I think COVID really brought into stark contrast for us is how we have competing values in the US, both of collective responsibility, but also of individual freedom, right? And I think that at its core, this battle about, dog waste is really about like, what do we owe one another? But also, what can I get away with?
And what we were talking about earlier with people bringing dogs where there shouldn't be dogs, that's one of the boundaries I think people are testing in terms of what's allowed socially, especially post-pandemic.
One of the takeaways from my research in Durham was about how we met certain people with surveillance and then other people are met, I think, with more compassion, right? When I talk about race as a structure of power, that's what I mean, right? It's that it's structures what different people can get away with and what we tolerate from different populations. And it's not necessarily that some groups do one thing over the other, but we encourage it from one group or we discourage it from another, or we police it in one group or police it in another, and then that can create different forms of habit. So I think if somebody brings their dog to a coffee shop, maybe nobody's going to say anything. And not only that, maybe the barista is going to be like, oh my gosh, your dog is so cute, right? So even if you have the rule that says no dogs allowed, but then everyone's cooing over your adorable little dog, then that's also, a way that a norm is being set.
Okay, the other thing I was thinking about, like along the lines of the racial breakdown of who owns dogs, there are also stereotypes about who owns different breeds and whether they might be allowed in a given place. Like the dog I saw at Walter's, right, was the size of a person, an old English sheepdog. I wonder, what the reaction would have been if someone had brought in a pit bull that was roughly the same size. And I don't want to get into the pit bull of it all right now. There's a great Code Switch episode about that, actually. But I think there are other dog breeds that can be intimidating to some, like German Shepherds. Like they are just not racialized in the same way like a pit bull is, right? Because of the Nazi connection. German Shepherds are probably more seen as a dog for white people.
Right. Obviously, the conversation here is not all dogs should be able to go into all businesses, but I think it is important to consider that people are going to have different levels of permissiveness based on what kind of dog you have and what kind of human being you are. Mm-hmm. Ultimately, I think that this issue of dogs cropping up in places that they weren't brought to before is not one that we can do a lot about because service animals are a thing, the laws surrounding questions about those animals are a thing, and privately owned businesses can make whatever rules they want, for the most part, as long as food isn't being prepared. But circling back to the dog poop, that's all happening on sidewalks, in parks, on other people's lawns, and it's become kind of a public policy issue.
We're going to take a quick break, but first, if you're a longtime listener or brand new to It's Been a Minute, be sure to come back every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes. And did you know you can make it even easier to get new episodes by hitting the follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app? Whether you're a new friend or a loyal bestie, join the team by subscribing today. Coming up after the break.
It wasn't until the 1970s that there was a big campaign to get owners to scoop the poop.
What? What?
Letting it rock was just kind of how people lived.
Stick around.
This message comes from Saatva. Voted Best Luxury Mattress by Sleep Foundation, Saatva's handcrafted mattresses are designed for restorative sleep at prices below traditional retail. Save up to $625 at saatva.com/NPR. This message comes from IXL. Spring is here and school testing is just around the corner. IXL can help. Make an impact on your child's learning. Receive 20% off an IXL membership if you sign up today at IXL.com/NPR.
This message is from AT&T with your summer essential, the iPhone 17 Pro. Its center stage front camera auto-adjusts the frame to fit everyone into group selfies. Right now at AT&T, ask how you can get iPhone 17 Pro on them with eligible iPhone trade-in any condition. Requires trade-in of iPhone 15 Plus or higher excluding iPhone 16e and 17e. Requires eligible plan. Terms and restrictions apply. Subject to change. Visit att.com/iPhone for details. This message comes from Progressive Insurance. You're listening to this podcast, so you've got a curious mind. Did you know that drivers who switch and save with Progressive save over $900 on average? Visit Progressive.com and get a quick quote with discounts that are easy to come by. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. National average 12-month savings of $946 by new customers surveyed who save with Progressive between June 2024 and May 2025. Potential savings will vary.
So, what makes dog poop a policy issue?
Well, it can be a really big problem people have with their neighborhood's quality of life.
There's a really interesting study that they did in London like 10 or 15 years ago where they were seeing sort of what people's top complaints were about their neighborhoods, and dog poop in the neighborhood was like one of the top things that people were complaining about in a disproportionate way to the amount of dog poop that there actually was. Like, it was a really salient concern for people.
That's Sarah Cronin. She's a graduate student studying urban planning at Hunter College. I found a paper she wrote on the dog poop issue in cities.
The people doing the study sort of hypothesized that it's because it was a stand-in issue for all of these other ways that they felt like the government was not taking care of them, or like their neighborhood was sort of being forgotten about. This dog poop being everywhere, it becomes like a really salient visual indicator that like you are sort of being left behind in some way by this government that is supposed to be taking care of you.
Wait, hold on. Why is it the government's responsibility here? Like, isn't it on owners to pick up their dog's poop?
Actually, Brittany, you're going to love to hear this. It wasn't really always seen as the owner's responsibility. Like, in New York, it wasn't until the 1970s that there was a big campaign to get owners to scoop the poop.
What? What?
That's when the first fine was introduced for people who didn't pick up after their dogs. Like, it wasn't an accepted norm that you needed to be carrying your baggies and picking up after it. Letting it rock was just kind of how people lived.
That is so gross.
I knew you would love to hear that. But some dog owners definitely feel like their community government has some responsibilities here, too.
When we think about dog ownership, there's a really kind of challenging relationship between both dog owners and city officials in terms of whose responsibility is it to care for the environment in which dogs might be present in.
That's Anjali again.
And so we have dog owners who arguably the majority of the responsibility falls upon. But then there's also this challenge of the infrastructure itself, whether it's sidewalks or parkland, park space, et cetera. And this feeling that dog owners might hope or desire for there to be a space devoted exclusively to their dogs. And then city officials stating, well, we primarily serve people first. And so whether or not they're going to dedicate significant amounts of the budget to producing spaces for dogs causes this like tension.
And honestly, some of that is valid in the sense that there are actually important infrastructure improvements that would help dog owners and would be a net positive for everyone else too, like more green space. And maybe most importantly for the poop issue, more well-maintained trash cans. Maybe with poop bags on them too. And some neighborhoods are a long way away from that.
I find myself being very frustrated because unlike other neighborhoods on the north side of Chicago, which are arguably far wealthier and often far whiter, we lack even trash can infrastructure. So when I think about this argument where we can put poop bags on trash cans, well, what if you don't even have trash cans? People don't even carry the bags with them because I think that they don't really want to carry the poop around with them until they get home, which I think in some ways is a failing of dog owners, but also a failing of the state for being able to just like put a trash can out there.
That's really interesting. Like, I live somewhere where the trash can situation is developing, but sometimes people would come here, like to my block, just to dump their trash. Like, I live in a block where I was straight up calling sanitation to bring out investigators. Like, I definitely feel what she's saying here.
It's a budget issue in a lot of cities, including ours. Here's Sarah Cronin again.
There's just opposition from DSNY who doesn't want to or doesn't have the funds to keep up with the trash cans that we already have. So they are sort of the belief that the more trash cans you put out, the more trash people are going to put in, which I'm sure is true to some extent in terms of like household trash getting put in public bins when it shouldn't be. But yeah, at that point, it's sort of a funding thing where it's like, who is going to man all of these trash cans that need to be emptied, on a daily basis, basically.
Wait, I heard of like another solution. I saw this news story that some cities in Europe are basically like DNA testing dogs, like putting that info in a database. And then when there's like poop out, they test the poop and they find like who's ever made the dookie. Like, I don't know if we can implement that here because there are way too many dogs for all that testing. But I don't know. I thought the DNA thing was really wild and honestly kind of funny.
I mean, it is objectively funny because that means somebody's job would be tracing down dog poops. But should we live in a poopopticon? It is a slippery slope to depend on surveillance tech to enforce a social norm, don't you think?
Okay. You might be right about that, but what do we do?
I don't have a clear-cut solution, but I think we can start small by convincing people and their community leaders to truly care about the environment that they live in. Here's Anjali again.
The built world around us is sort of the great mediator between how people connect with each other and oftentimes how they connect with themselves too. The care and maintenance of our spaces oftentimes is a mirror for how we perform care and maintenance of our relationships with our neighbors, with kind of the broader community in which we live. Seeing dog poop and seeing a lot of dog poop transcends for me personally beyond just the feeling of oh, this person doesn't care that there could be transmitting diseases. It's actually that they truly believe that nobody cares about this physical space, and therefore why should I? And then I lose trust, and I build resentment, and then I stop caring. So you can see how this is a pretty toxic domino effect that begins with how the state, how the city government starts to fail in their care and maintenance of the city in which they're charged with leading.
And I know there are 1,000,000,001 things that communities have to care about. Housing, transportation, education, etc. But small investments in the care and cleanliness of where we live, like trash cans, I think goes a long way.
The idea of having mounted trash bins that can be serviced every week is, to me, living on the west side of Chicago, a miracle. That would be a miracle. That would be, I think, the first step to building a city that says we care about the state of our streets and our parkways and our parks. There is no way to require people to use them. But I think that by providing people with just the infrastructure and resources to be able to take care of their animals appropriately will do so.
It sounds like the point that she's making is that we could all be served, like humans and animals alike, by investing in clean and healthy environments. But that sounds so basic.
I know, but if it were basic, wouldn't it have already been done by now? And there is some hope on the horizon. The New York City Council has been listening to complainers like us, and they just announced a piece of legislation called the Scoop Act that would expand access to dog poop bags, fund public education on the matter, and increase enforcement of fines. But this is just one city. And also, Anjali hopes that when people pay attention to the actual spaces of their communities, even if it's dog poop that gets them to think about it, that we can also start thinking about how we can make these spaces better for all of us, beyond just cleaner sidewalks.
We can talk about dogs. We can sort of displace our frustration on the people who don't pick up after their dogs, or the guy that is watching TikTok really, really loud on the train. The kind of anti-social behaviors that you see, we can displace it all onto these individuals. But ultimately, the kind of root, right, of this problem is just the fact that we have failed to produce spaces that bring people together in ways that like are based on loose ties, people who can come together occasionally, go back apart and have a relationship, those have been wiped away. So I actually think in like this kind of perfect utopian vision for dog infrastructure, it's actually about like creating a more compassionate, caring, and interconnected public.
I like that. It has to be said, I'm not dog negative. I just want all of us to be more society positive. So I'm jiving with this vision.
Totally. There is enough room for all of us. And I want to remind the humans that we are also animals, social ones. I know a lot of people's lives are made better by caring for their dogs, but I think everybody's lives would improve a lot too if we cared about each other in the same way.
I agree. But I will say, even if I care about you, I will not be picking up after your dog. I'm just going to say that.
And that is so fair, Queen.
Manuela, thank you so much for joining us again.
Totally. I'm here to complain anytime.
That was Manuela Lopez Restrepo, a writer and producer at All Things Considered. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Liam McBain.
This episode was edited by
Nina Patak.
Engineering support came from
David Greenberg.
Our supervising producer is
Cher Vincent.
Our executive producer is
Barton Girdwood.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from IXL. Spring is here and school testing is just around the corner. IXL can help. Make an impact on your child's learning. Receive 20% off an IXL membership if you sign up today at IXL.com/NPR.
This message comes from Grainger. For the ones who get it done, Grainger offers the professional-grade products you need to get the job done. With fast delivery and access to technical product experts ready to help you meet any challenge. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by.